Alright, welcome back to another video from MBMRC. This is Brian. Today I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make a 4.8 volt battery pack for, whether it be a receiver or even a small ignition or something like that. I kind of decided I was going to do this whenever I was going to order some flight packs for my dad and my brother for Christmas. And they were like 16-20 bucks a piece. And I could get this whole box of 4.8s from Amazon for $32. So there are 24 in there. So that would be 6 4.8 volt packs for $30 as opposed to getting one for about 20. So what you're going to need is you're going to need all your soldering supplies, obviously. I use a hot glue gun to glue the batteries together. And if you have any servos laying around that look like this, unfortunately we have quite a few of them. You'll use this for the leads. You're going to need some sandpaper to rough up the terminals on the battery. Some guys use actual solder on ends. I'm just going to use like desoldering solder wick to connect the batteries to one another, and it seems to work just fine for the way that we do it. And you also might need something to hold the solder wick down as you're trying to get it to tack on. So I'm going to go ahead and going to kind of go step by step on how I do this, and hopefully you guys can follow along. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hot glue these batteries together. And you're going to want them to look like this in the pack, so we're going to go ahead, we're just going to put some hot glue here. It looks like my gun's getting a little low. Put some glue on here, and you try to get them as level as possible. And the glue cools down real quick and hardens on these batteries because they're, a little bit colder than most things. So, and that glue's pretty well already set up. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the same thing. When this is done, now this is going to be a square pack. If you have a question on how to do a flat pack or even like a 6 volt, go ahead and leave it in the comments. But you're going to want it to look like this when you're done. So. And again, that hot glue sets up real quick. It dries real fast on those batteries, so you don't have a lot of working time. And this is actually a pretty, this is the Adtech Pro 200, and it gets pretty hot. So you're not going to have a lot of working time when it comes to that. So again, you're going to want them to look something like this whenever you're ready to actually solder them. So we're going to go ahead, lay a couple beads of hot glue down. Again, the working time is going to be not that much. So you're going to end up, like I said, it's going to look something very similar to that when you're done. And whenever you're done with that, go ahead, get ready. I always put a little bit of hot glue down in the crack there just to hold it, because sometimes it can get a little warm when you're soldering it. And I don't really want to see the glue start to melt. Also, I didn't mention in the intro, but you're going to want something to hold this while you're doing it. So I just use this little vise here I have on my bench. And we should be ready to solder. So while my soldering pencil's warming up, I do want to point out this is going to be actually the bottom of the battery. I'm just going to jump from here to here and from here to here. And I do want to point out to everybody that this is something that you should really only do if you kind of know what you're doing with this stuff. You don't want to get these batteries too hot. When it comes to batteries, they try to make them as safe as possible, but you really never know what they're going to do. You don't want to get them real hot. You kind of want to be as quick as you can with the soldering pencil, and you kind of want to have a little bit of experience doing this kind of stuff before you just jump in and do it. So, definitely if you have any questions, ask. But this is not really a good first project with a soldering pencil. So, yeah, while it's heating up here, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to get ready to do it. Also, while that soldering pencil is heating up, I just want to point out that something that you need to do, because your hands naturally have oils and things like that on them, it's a good idea to take some sandpaper or maybe a tougher steel wool and kind of try to clean up these battery terminals a little bit. Just scuff them up. You don't got to get real crazy, but just, like I said, take some sandpaper or maybe even some steel wool and just scuff those battery terminals up just a little bit. And that way you have something good for the solder to tack onto there. So All right, so once you're done with the bottom of your battery, it should look something very similar to this. Something worth looking into, like I need to trim this up a little bit. You really want to try to prevent anything from shorting out. But whenever we flip it over, what we're going to do is go basically the opposite way that we went down here. So we're going to connect these two. And then these two here will be for our leads, for our charge leads. So we're going to go ahead and solder that up real quick for you so you can see how we do that. Then we're going to wrap it, and we'll go from there. All right, something else that's worth doing before you go ahead and actually try the battery or anything like that, always check it to make sure. And there's going to be a little warmth there because of the fact that you've been soldering on it, but you want to make sure that it's not getting real hot. And something I like to do is I actually like to check the battery with like a voltmeter here. And I'm going to try to find a way to get this in frame so you can actually see. I want this to say 4.8 volts because there's 4 cells here. So we're going to go ahead, positive on the positive, negative on the negative, and 5.15. These batteries are going to ship with about a 30% charge on them. So as you can see the screen there on the voltmeter, I'm not sure if it's focused or not, but it'll say 5.15. That'll be about a 30% charge on this battery. So that's how we know that we've done it right. So now we can go ahead and we can actually solder our leads on. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. As I said before, I'm not sure how many of servos like this you guys have laying around. We have quite a few. So this is perfect for making a charge lead. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead, take my pliers here. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, you can make the lead to the length that you wish. There's nothing wrong with having, you know, a decent amount of wire there. Just going to go ahead and snip it. Then what I'll do is I'll actually take a razor blade, which I apologize for not having ready here. And I'll just separate these with a razor blade so they're easy to pull apart. You got to be careful that you don't cut into the wire though. Let's go ahead. And you will not need this signal wire here. Some of these leads, they'll have it white. Some of them will have it orange or yellow like this one here. So you will not need that one. So you can actually just go ahead and you can cut that straight flush with the connector. That way you don't get confused. So you're left with your brown and red wires, which just a pair of wire strippers. Go ahead, and then what we'll do is, as you can see, I already got some solder on my leads there. I'm going to go ahead and tin these wires up, and I'm going to solder it on. Then we'll get ready to go ahead and wrap it up. there it is. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead, just show you real quick. I just use electrical tape. Some guys claim that they have found decent sized heat shrink to do this with. Electrical tape seems to work fine for me. So what I do is I just go ahead, wrap it up. You don't got to get real crazy with this point, and really you can go ahead and do it however you want. I'm just going to go ahead and probably do this for you here. We'll fast forward through it, and then you'll get to see the final product. All right, so if you're wondering why I went ahead and switched to the red tape here, it's because it's always good to label your batteries. Like I'll do the date. And then I'll also put the capacity on it in case you forget, because it's nice to know what your charge rate should be. So there you go. That's how we make flight packs.